What up? I'm Josh Paulson, a full-time game programmer with Defiance Game Studio. I started working here 1 year ago, March 1st, 2021, and I love it. This is a dream job from when I was little. Started working in Game Maker when I was 9 years old, maybe 8, and learned code a few years after that and had no idea what for loops were until I started getting more into web code when I was 16 and was moving more in web development and performant web apps and also writing little mini games in C, and that's kind of how I got started. So one of the things that I've learned over this past year is that I belong here. I can run with giants, and I'm not going to run at the same speed as giants on every single thing, but I can run with giants. And I think that there are people watching this who wonder if they can, and you probably can. And there might be people watching this who think that they can and they might not be able to, but you don't really know until you have that chance to work alongside. What I would really want to say to you, if you are wanting to get into the industry, is that you might be struggling and wondering, why aren't people hiring me? I must not be good enough. I must need to get better or be better. And there's more you can do for your portfolio, I'm sure, and for your resume. I'm sure that, I'm not going to say there's nothing you can do, but you might already be way better than you think. One of the things that I'd encourage you to do is to apply anyway and have conversations. I didn't think I'd get this job. I applied, and my boss specifically was looking for object-oriented principles inside of the programming test, and I was like, I'm more interested in ECS. I'm more interested in data-oriented programming. So I did the test according to that. It's funny. But there are a few interesting things that came from that. For one thing, my boss was like, well, my now boss, Thomas, he looked at the test and he was like, this is an OOP. What? That's not how he said it, but he was like, okay, my question is, can you learn OOP and do what we're looking for? And I was like, probably not, because I'm more interested in ECS and data-oriented programming and not really interested in OOP. And he was like, oh, you had a reason behind what you were doing. I like that. Now, what I've since come to learn since working here is that what I saw as OOP is not what they were doing, because I've seen so many terrible things that people have done in the name of OOP. And I was like, that's crap. Like, why would anybody do that? That's terrible. There's a lot of bad web code. So coming from that, I don't know. It takes really bad code to truly shock me at this point. Maybe I shouldn't say that. But yeah. I thought that I would hate programming. I was like, oh man, maybe I'm gonna hate programming here if I get this. And I was like, should I, am I gonna do it? And I got the position. And I'm really happy I did. I've loved it. And my boss has been really happy with my work. He hasn't been like, oh man, this code doesn't work. Well, sometimes my code doesn't work. Okay, I write bad code sometimes too. I try to make that a small percentage of the time, but I do still write bad code sometimes. But I also write good code a lot. Like recently, I got to work on a level generator tool, and it was really cool because you could combine different chunks of levels together and then press buttons and it would all reorganize and be all cool and stuff. Probably the coolest thing I've written so far. So yeah, I think that the biggest thing that I would say to myself a year and a half ago and to you now is that you might be further along than you think. That's not, oh hey, slow down or quit applying to stuff. But one of the things that I would encourage you to do is to try applying to things even if you don't think that you're quite ready or don't think that you're at that level. Here's the thing. Worst case, you don't get a response. Now, if you're, there are bad ways to apply, I guess, but as long as you don't do anything too crazy, you're good. You can give it a go. And I remember shortly before I actually applied, there was a quote that my now boss, had posted from Sid Meier, and I don't remember the exact quote, but it was from his memoir. And he was talking about how sometimes those little choices that don't seem like they matter at all, they change everything. And when I first applied to Defiance Game Studio, I kind of thought, this probably isn't going to go anywhere. There's no way that I'm going to get this position. My boss had 4 things he was looking for, and I was like, I think I hit I know I hit 1 out of 4 of those, but I don't think I hit all of those. He wanted somebody who was in Canada, and I was in the US, and all these different things, and I was just like, I'll see. I tried. And I got in, and I love it, and they love me. And I get to make emojis of my coworkers' faces and put them in our work Discord, and now everybody uses them. So I know that there are people watching this who are going to think, I'm nowhere near who I need to be to get into the games industry. But that's because you have no frame of reference. You have never worked alongside a AAA person and seen that they are truly human. They're great humans, but they're truly human. And you are too. And what I would say to you is that if you can get alongside with some other devs, whether that is in some indie teams or whether that is just watching some videos and seeing what other people are doing in the industry, perhaps even just watching some Twitch streamers who are doing what you want to do and seeing how you compare, you can get a better frame of reference. I don't want this to come across as, oh man, like play the comparison game and you're not good enough. I'm actually saying, hey, you know what? There's room in the industry for people. It's a small industry as far as okay, the indie side of it, it's so bloated. But if you're trying to get more into the core or into larger companies, there's a bit more room, I would say. You need to be great. You need to be good at what you do, but you can find a place there. So I know this is going to sound very counter, and to some people this might even sound bad, but I mean this in the best way possible. Start comparing yourself to other people. And I really mean that, because if you can look at somebody else's work and say, they're in the industry and I can do better, or I can do better in a specific area, then you can get into the industry. Sure, it's going to take time. I was looking for jobs for months and I thought I had several leads and I was like, oh, I've got it. I've got the job, and I didn't. But I know that you can get in because I got in. And I came from web dev. And programmers, they hate web developers. Oh, I shouldn't say that. So like when I started out, I was pretty anxious because I was like, how am I going to do? Am I going to hit their targets? Am I going to meet their expectations? Am I going to be good enough? And I am. Like, let me make this very clear. I hope this doesn't come across as me being like, I'm amazing. Actually, what I'm trying to say is that you're probably more amazing than you realize. And if I'm an ordinary dude and I can do pretty cool stuff, and you're an ordinary person, then you can do what I do, and you can also do better. I'm sure there's people who will watch this who are going to be way better than I am at my own job. And that's okay. And that's cool. Like, go get a job. And I mean that in the best way possible. I don't mean like, I mean like, yeah, go for it. You got this. You're pretty cool. So I don't know if I answered anybody's specific questions. Maybe you're like, well, what do you do? What's your life like? What's your middle name? Post a comment. Ask me anything personal, professional, and if I'm like, I can't answer that, I won't, but I probably can, and I probably will, and I probably tell people, so-and-so asked me, and you can be like, I'm so-and-so. If this was helpful for you, please like, subscribe, ring the bell, I guess, if you want. I hate notifications. Maybe you want them, though. I'm gonna be trying to do more stuff like this, and also I do streams where I play games wrong and study them that way, because I like that. And if you're trying to get in the industry, best of luck. And if you're not trying to get into the industry, then I hope that you enjoyed watching and that I can answer some of your questions and your curiosities, because I do want to say I love the games industry. I adore it. I'm so thankful to be here, and I recognize it's not for everybody. Bye. Programming is my secondary job. My main job is making emojis of my coworkers' faces